Apostate's Misery. There was once a wind spirit who fell in love with a mortal man. Though it was against all the laws of her race, each day she allowed her love and passion to grow. The spirit was condemned to death for the betrayal of her race. The Lord of Spirits sent vassals to carry out the sentence, armed with a bardiche enchanted to slay spirits. Sensing that her life was in danger, the spirit made one last visit to the man she loved, then fled through the forests and seas and mountains, pursued all the while by her would-be executioners. Some years later, a healthy young boy was seen playing around the village. This remarkable boy could control the very winds. His father never told him who his mother was. Devilscale. In a time when gods and mankind still lived together on the earth, a great war raged between the gods and the demons. The nights burned red, and scores of gods fell victim to hellfire. The conflagration burned for 10 days. Then a flood covered the earth for 100 days. And then, for 1,000 days, a great tempest swept the land. All plants and animals were turned to dust. But at last, the gods struck down Belial, master of the giants and the mightiest of the demons. They shut him up in his hell, sealing the entrance with layer upon layer of thick ice. It is said that the blade of this poleaxe is made from a scale of the demon Belial's hide, cut from him when the gods sealed him into his hell. Fang's Glaive. A wealthy Eastern merchant spared no expense when he ordered the forging of this magnificent glaive. So fine is its blade that when it slices off a man's head, the victim feels no pain at all. Yet it harbors evil powers. Any man who dares look into the blade sees a warped image of his face. The greater a man's greed, the uglier his reflection becomes. When the merchant looked into the blade, he saw a reflection more hideous than any other. He could not bear to see the ugly face and swore never again to look at the weapon's shining surface. But one day, a demon whispered in his ear, and he was again tempted to look into the blade. There, he saw a face so abominably deformed and repulsive that he turned the weapon on himself and cut off his own head. Reaper's Scythe. They say that the Reaper waits by the gate to Hades. With this scythe, he cuts the passage to the eternal darkness, a place from whence no soul has ever returned. A man was sentenced to enter dark Hades. He waited beside the Reaper as the grim god sliced open a passage to the darkness. At that moment, the man swung his sword at the Reaper. The blade struck home, and the Reaper felled.
Foolish human,
He laughed.
your sword cannot help you now.
As he spoke, the scythe rose up and cut off the man's leg with one blow. The true guardian was not the Reaper. It was the scythe. And by the gate it still waits for each sinner in his turn. Sorrowborn. Once upon a time, in a small village, a young boy and a young girl fell in love. The boy was kind and just, and the girl was cheerful and bright. By the flowing stream, over the hills, and through the field they played. With a crown of dayflowers and a ring of lavender, they promised themselves to each other for all eternity. But one day, the girl's family was forced to leave the village to look for work in the city. Though she cried and begged to stay, the young girl had to leave. The tears of the boy and girl fell to the ground and formed a small pond. This bardiche was crafted by the spirit who came to live in that lake and was given on a whim to the local woodcutter. Twins Fang. A long time ago, there were twin gods who gave man the gift of fire and knowledge, and protected him with their wisdom. But mankind fell into corruption, and the twin gods became wrathful. They sent storms and floods to destroy the cities, and great fires to burn the plains. Acknowledging their sinful ways, the people offered this great axe in penitence. It was a charmed offering, washed in the blood of sacrificed twin children. The gods turned the souls of the young twins into stars. Then they sealed the stars within this axe, a grim reminder to mankind that he must never fall into sin. Widow's Death. Queen Brunhilde, daughter of Visigoth King Athanagild, was wife to Sigebert I of Austrasia, and ruled the kingdom as regent in her son's name after the death of the king. Neighbouring Neustria was ruled by Chilperic I and Queen Fredegund. Seeking to expand their kingdom at the expense of their neighbour, they had Sigebert assassinated. This sparked a long and bloody feud between the two kingdoms. The rift between the countries deepened, as the Brunhildes and Fredegunde's relatives were murdered one by one. Eventually, Brunhilde was betrayed while attending peace negotiations and was sentenced to death by Clothar II. This is the poleaxe that was used to chop off her head. Windsinger. This bardiche is imbued with the mighty anger of the storm god. Any victim that has the misfortune to be caught in the tempest will have his very flesh and blood blown clean off his bones. In a small village, there lived a boy who could control the winds. Hearing of this, the jealous storm god came down to earth and challenged the boy to a duel of magic. They agreed to see who would be first to remove a passing knight's cloak. While the god tried to blow a storm to tear the cloak away, the boy simply summoned a warm breeze that made the knight take off his cloak. Enraged that he lost to a mere mortal, the storm god summoned a wind that blew so hard nothing was left of the boy but his bones. At the same time, the storm of rage entered the knight's bardiche.